Welcome everyone back to the Pommy and Oz channel, and today we're finalising our preview of all 18 teams. We're previewing our final two teams in the section we suspect they're rebuilding, and that is none other than West Coast Eagles and the Richmond Tigers. Both had a real hard 2024, but some fresh faces, some new strategies, some new coaches in some cases. There is plenty of potential for both sides. They're ready to rewrite new stories for this season, so grab your beverage of choice, sit back, let's get into it, run that intro, and drop your predictions on where they'll finish right now in the comments. West Coast Eagles, let's start with them. The 2024 season was rough, finishing 16th with 5 wins and 18 losses. One of the biggest headlines, obviously, was the removal of Adam Simpson as a coach. The long-serving Premiership-winning coach handing the reins over to McQualter, a decision that sent ripples through the AFL and fan bases. But it wasn't really much of a surprise. There were some standout moments on field, but also some heartbreaking and some real big life lessons in a team that was littered with injuries and never quite got going. There is some major areas for improvement. What do you think was the turning point, though, last season that really sums up the Eagles? They had some big wins against some good opposition, but then they also capitulated. Let me know in the comments. Now, from a data point of view, let's break down the numbers for 2024. On the attacking front, the Eagles ranked 14th for stoppage scores, 18th for turnover scores, and 17th for defensive half scores, forward half scores, and total point scores. When you look defensively as well, things didn't really get much better. They were 18th for stoppage scores against defence, turnover scores against defence 16th, 16th for forward half and defensive half points against, and total points against, they were second last in 16th. Again, these numbers show clear areas of improvement both forward and behind the ball. The Eagles need to boost, really though, that offensive efficiency, but find a way to really tighten up them defensive lapses, particularly around them contested ball situations. What area would you focus on if you had the head coach's job at Eagles? Let me know in the comments. Heading into the off-season, Eagles made a flurry of changes, so let's break it down for you. In came Bo Allen, pick 16. Liam Baker came in from a trade from Richmond. Malachi Champion was Cat Bede. Hamish Davis, Luca Gregor, Tom Gross, and Job Shanahan came in the draft. Jack Graham, experience from Richmond, made his way over. And Matty Owies from the Carlton Football Club. They said goodbye to Tom Barras in a big trade and experienced forward Jack Darling. Jai Cully, Jordan Baker, Kobe Burgill, Luke Edwards were OD listed, along with Jermaine Jones, Josh Rotham, Zane True and Alex Witherden. And Andrew Gaff said goodbye and retired. There was a clear intent here on getting rid of the tosh and injecting youth and fresh talent, while parting ways with players that didn't quite push on. While losing experience is tough, the incoming talent for me feels like it's a lot higher floor and certainly higher ceiling, and it looks like it will immediately address the scoring and defensive issues moving forward. Now, who of them players are we really looking forward to see? None other than, for me, Liam Baker. All eyes will be fixedly peeled on him. Last year, he played 18 games for fellow strugglers Richmond Tigers, averaging 20 touches, 3.8 tackles, and gaining 301 metres per game. With this move, Baker brings not only skill, but creativity and the ability to provide a midfield spark. Incredibly versatile as well. He's played down back, up forward, and on the ball, and out on the wing. This is a real good signing here, and I feel like this is going to be a return to the glory years of the Eagles, of looking to inject some wisdom and some zip off the halfback flank, but also being a real good distributor, which sets them up in transition. I do really expect to see the Eagles absolutely leap up in scores from defensive half this year, and Liam Baker will be a big asset to that. Another name on the radar for me is Elijah Hewett, who, despite battling injuries in the last couple of years, did manage 14 games in his debut year, and he mixes a combination of agility and strength with explosiveness and elite speed and endurance. He has the potential for me to be the missing piece in the puzzle. When you combine him with Harley Reid, this is a really exciting on-ball unit with both Harley Reid and him able to go to half forward and kick snags. I also want to focus on what he brings in the terms of a certain Mr. Tim Kelly. We've seen Tim Kelly at times be pigeonholed and almost have to take on too much responsibility in the midfield, where we saw Tim Kelly at his pomp and circumstance for Geelong, being that loose player in the midfield and being really offensive. I think Hewett and what we've seen so far in the very brief foray into pre-season could really unlock that as well. I think they're a really exciting young midfield group at the Eagles, and I think it's probably not talked about enough. They've got some decent experience there with some names as well, so I think it's a real solid midfield outfit, and I'm really excited about their forward line as well. I think this could be a breakout year for young Elijah, though, and I'm really looking forward to seeing him make hay of what his potential is. Now let's see what's coming out from the track. The pre-season buzz has been the Eagles have shaped things up. And for instance, Marich, the original pick one in the mid-season draft, is now showing promises down the back, particularly showing some great ball use off halfback flank. Ruben Ginby is going to continue on that halfback line as well. And Tywell Dira has been said he's been absolutely killing it in the forward line. He did show that in pre-season as well. There's been chatter as well that Bailey Williams looks set to grab the number one list ruckman spot, and Liam Baker already bringing his high training standards. We know he is an elite trainer. Bo Allen has really caught the eye as well, a really exciting wingman who can play halfback. I think he will really add some spread to the Eagles. And Liam Duggan has been on a modified program. Pre-season is always cautious, but I reckon he could be a real important key in this cog in this. It's going to be really interesting what happens because they've got a few outs. Elliot Yeo and Harry Edwards obviously have had them injuries. But these new roles and adjustments, do you think they'll pay off for the Eagles? I'm really eager to see what happens. So let's recap what we've talked about. They come in with a clear roadmap for improvement, and that's always a positive. When you know what's wrong, you know what to fix. A boost of offensive consistency, just tighten up a little bit in structure down the back. With this list being the 16th oldest and the 17th most experienced, they have been dealt a very hard fixture list. It's the 10th hardest fixture in the league. We're predicting, though, wins of 6 wins for them if everything clicks. It could be more. I reckon there'll be a real handful down at Optus, and they'll surprise a few teams. What are your predictions? Can the Eagles surprise us in 25? Sound off in the comments. Let's switch gears. Richmond Tigers, their 2024 season was proper roller coaster, finishing rock bottom with just 2 wins and 21 losses. And that's tough. I'm a Carlton fan. I remember our 2-win season. But what excites me as opposed to Carlton's 2019 season when they went in on 2 wins is how exciting their off-season's been. They went from top 4 contenders only a few years ago, a dynasty, to full rebuild mode. And they fully committed, right? It's tough losses and it just have a shift of club culture. But I think what they've done has been spectacular. They've really committed to this rebuild. And I think 2025 is where we start to see a little bit of a turn. The light is at the end of the tunnel. There were some low moments, though, in the Richmond game. And, you know, to see so many fallen stars bow out of the game of that dynasty is quite sad. But what I really do like is they've kept the stable senior players. You've got Broad there and Vlastin, players that have been there and done it. So share your thoughts in the chat. What did you think of 2024's Richmond season? But also, what did you think of their turning point in the off-season? Now, let's look at them from a data point of view. And you know what? It's not going to be sexy, is it? Stoppage scores 4 were 18th. Total points scored 18th. Defensive half scores 18th. Forward half scores, though, as always, showing a little bit of resurgence. They were 15th, and that's a real strong area for there, and they've got some really good talent there. Shai Bolton leaves, though, obviously, and that will affect it, but again, turnover scores, they were rock bottom. They were 17th. Now, for points against, stoppage points against, they were 14th, again, showing that rigidness that you expect with Richmond. They're never going to dominate from there, but they are very well structured. Turnover scores against, they were 17th, as well as defensive half and forward half and total points. These numbers highlight a team that's struggling, finishing nearly in the bottom 2 of all opposition and attacking scores. There's a long road ahead, but what is clear is not just the areas of improvement that they'll be able to address early, become more rigid round stoppage, and also I expect them defensive stats to improve, just the way that their players are going and the age bracket they're coming into, but Also, there's a clear pathway. You can see what they're focusing on. So these numbers really don't really paint the picture. This is a long-term strategy for them. Now, let's talk about that long-term strategy. They made some massive moves. They literally dominated the draft, taking Lalor, Taj Houghton, Jonty Foe, Tommy Sims, Harry Armstrong, and Jasper Olga with a steal at 57 to combine with Luke Traynor and Josh Smiley. They've really gone bold, both ends of the ground, really got some key pillars, really exciting young talent. And they did lose quite a few players. We lost Shai Bolton and Liam Baker to trades to Perth. Fremantle for Bolton, Baker for West Coast. But you don't want them players around. It was obvious they wanted to get out and they weren't up for the fight. Richmond need players in who are ready to grind and let these kids develop. Jack Graham left. Second year in a row, he was linked with a move to Perth. He finally made it to Eagles. And then they delisted Cumberland, Coulthard, Grimes and Martin retired with Pickett and Naismith. And Dan Rioli was traded, which was probably a big loss. But again, halfback flankers, very easy position to maximise at very early doors. And Caleb Smith has looked like he's taken that role like a duck to water. Although they've lost some big names, they've closed the door on the dynasty and they've opened the door on the new dynasty. And that's what I really like. This influx of talent, and they've still kept some very senior heads around there. I really like this portion of the rebuild. So Richmond fans, what do you think? How long is it going to take you to turn around? And what do you guys and girls think of the opposition clubs? Now, players to watch. Sam Lalor, he's just fractured his jaw, but this guy is a #1 pick in all sense of the words. An absolute beast. They've got their poster boy for the next years, blending physicality with finesse. Whether it's winning contested balls, whether it's distributing dimes, whether it's kicking goals himself, taking explosive marks, or just laser-like kicking his way through trouble, his game is built in one-touch plays to change the game. Standing at a real nice, healthy 188, he blends strength with agility and game-breaking awareness. He really is the spark that Richmond needs, and I'm super excited about seeing Sammy play. Now, how high do you think his ceiling is? Let us know. Go on. And another key figure is Richmond's Tim Taranto. Now, they've paid a lot of money for this, and he goes into this season off the back of 15 games, 25 touches, but finishing top 20 for contested possessions, 11.3, and 5.2 score involvements. Now, he carries a lot of weight here. Him and Hopper are going to have to protect this young midfield, but also offer huge output, serving as both the provider and the projector. He's got to do this and show that he's the return of investment and set the tone of the new era of Richmond. Now, I don't want to say he's Trent Cotchin because that is unfair. Trent Cotchin is Trent Cotchin, but he's got to look at what Trent Cotchin did for Richmond during their rebuild, where he sacrificed his game to bring players in and around him, but also finish it off when he need to. I think this is where Taranto now, he wanted to get out of the limelight, he wanted to get out the shadow of your Kellys, your Canelios, of your Whitfields. He's now really the star man at Richmond. So now is the time that you pay the Richmond faithful back, you stay fit, you stay healthy, and you become the standard setter of the next gen of the Tiger Army. So sound off, let me know what you think. Now let's go to the training track. Richmond have evidently been buzzing. Ryan Mansell has evidently gone to another level. Jacob Kajitsky is playing down the back and has looked really, really strong. And in the pre-game that we saw the other day, he did look strong. Noah Bolter obviously is out with suspension, but Caleb Smith, who we talked about earlier, and Sam Banks have really shown some things in the back line. Gibcus will be working hard for a return as well. There's some real good young players there, so they've done the due diligence. They're working hard. They're really a team that are a wait and see for me, but I think they're in a good place. So let's sum it up for Tigers fans. They end in 2025 with the second youngest list and the least experienced. But they do have the easiest fixture list. Now, I still think they're going to struggle this year, but this is a very learning year, and this is a year really where they take the fundamentals of what they want to build 5 years from now and really focus on that. If we can learn anything off successful rebuilds, Sam Mitchell would be a good place to look at. They didn't care about the result. They worked on the game plan. And I think the Richmond Tigers have a real good mix of youth and seniority to just say, right, this is the game plan. In 5 years' time, when we're Premiership favourites, this is how we play. So let's work on them fundamentals now. Now, there is inefficiencies because they're young. There's going to be defensive laps and there's going to be blowouts. It's going to happen. But it's just about being competitive, for a little bit longer every week. I've got them as a pass score for 2 wins, but with the promising young talent early doors, they will be a nightmare because they'll play on youth and exuberance. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Let me know. So that wraps it up. Rebuilding plans, 2 different ends of the rebuild as well. West Coast, they're doing the rebuild, but they've still got a very strong list. Tigers really working from the bottom up. Which one do you think is the most promising in 5 years' time? And which player are you really excited to see? And who's going to break out for both these sides? If you did enjoy this content, please do me a solid. Hit the like, hit the subscribe button. We're nearly at 7K. I want to hit 10K by the end of the year. And I'd love it if you guys and girls could be part of it. Love to you all. I'm out of here. See you next time. Pom out.
Spent all my life holding all of it closely. I played it